I want to go through something that is like particularly helpful in my own process, or you can say as a tool that I use very often to like break through or to even work through some of those challenging circumstances that are right in front of you. And in the process of doing that, really giving us a reminder as a group of what we're trying to accomplish and running a cafe and having this church and just the way that we serve Jesus with our lives. And I thought it was so powerful because yesterday we had a moment where the spirit wasn't so good, and we just got together as a group and we just held hands and prayed. It was a really simple act that we did, and in doing so, we were able to posture our hearts in a way to say, you know what, it's not me, it's not you, it's something that's trying to be a part of our work. And I could tell that there was a spirit there that really didn't want us to harmonize with each other, and outwardly, nothing happened. Like there wasn't a breakout, there wasn't a fight, there wasn't, a division or even a dirty judgmental comment that, that I heard at least. Whether that was there or not is onto the conscience of the people we were all praying together. But nothing happened outwardly. But we held hands and we prayed, and I thought it was so powerful. And all we did, it was like the simplest thing in the world, is we just said, Lord, this cafe, it's yours. Wasn't our idea. We're not in it to make money, to profit any kind of personal agenda that we might have. We're here to serve you. This is what we feel like obedience means for us right now, is to be here serving and providing some really darn good barbecue to the community, and to be a source of harmony and unity. And one of the things that I really love is I feel like there's a lot of occasions where customers come and they walk in our doors and maybe they have a bad attitude about things, or just kind of irritable, or just down in the dumps about whatever they're going through. And there's something that they get to encounter here, and it's the Spirit of God. And there isn't like this in your face, we need to evangelize you right now, but to make this building, this property, this cafe that we run, something holy. And what makes it holy isn't the building, is it? It's the people that are in the building. And more specifically, it's not even just the people that are in the building, but it's the reason that people are in the building. It's the motive that they have for being there. That's all of it. That's the biggest part of what makes a good spirit and a bad spirit. And I don't know, was there someone in that group who didn't have a really good spirit, or was it something from the outside that we were contending with? I'm not really sure. But what I do know is that holding hands in prayer and everybody declaring why we're here meant everything. And it got us breakthrough, and I saw how it was starting to unify in a really powerful way. And that's been coming up a lot the last couple of days, and I thought it was a really good reminder for us to realize, like, prayer is so powerful. I think even though we're a prayer ministry, we don't utilize it quite enough. We spend a little bit too much time trying to sort through the things we feel and coming to terms with it rather than really praying through them and just getting that separation that we need to have a rich sense of God. And each person just, Lord, this is your cafe, and I'm here to serve you. That's it. I'm here to serve you, not to accomplish an agenda, not to make things happen a certain way, to cause my circumstances to unfold a certain way. I'm here to serve you, and everything I do and everything I say from this moment forward is for that purpose. And the tool that is incredibly effective for me is working. Is actually just working. Working as hard as I possibly can and giving myself over to it. I think there's something that God has just put innately inside of us to have productive lives, to live for something greater than ourselves. And I mean, you can go back as far as Genesis, and one of the first things God told them to do is work the land. They fell from this heavenly standing that they had, and sin entered into the world, and it was like the first command: work. And then we know some of the scriptures from Solomon where he says things like the best a person can do is work and find a way to be content. It's a really, really powerful tool. I remember a moment I had fairly recently where there was just so much to deal with, and the confusion was so strong. Ever be in that place before where the spirit is so bad you just don't know what to do? Like you feel like a deer in the headlights, like it's just so bad that you don't even know like what is the right thing right now. And I remember being in the prep room, and it was so awful. And I was, there were like a couple things that I had in front of me, and it was like, well, I don't know, Lord, is it in the flow to do this right now? Or is it in the flow to do this right now? Or should I be over here? Should I be doing this? And there was just this like confusion all over everything. And I was like, you know what? Wait a second. I don't know that it really matters that much. I can trim my brisket today, or I can trim it tomorrow. I could make rub today, or I can make rub tomorrow. You know what's important right now? Is that whatever I do it unto you. So I just pick something. In the middle of feeling this like chaotic, confusing, thing that, would want me to figure out what's going on, where's this coming from, and go 100 different directions with it. I grabbed a case of brisket, put it on the counter, and I said, this brisket is going to be the best darn brisket I've ever made. And Lord, it's unto you. It's not for me. It's not to accomplish something that I want accomplished. I'm here because I believe this is where you want me right now. This is what obedience looks like for me right now. And I'm not going to get lost in the detail. I'm going to get lost in the motive. And I had one of the most amazing times with Jesus in the world. Just standing there trimming brisket, and went from really contending with a not so good spirit, to just saying, Lord, I'm going to give myself over to the work that you've put in front of me, not just to get her done, but to serve. And I think we really can use this as a reminder. God has given our church an amazing system that hems us in, a system that draws us really near to Him. And there's a lot of different ways that that happens, from our services to people getting a spiritual counsel of the things that they're going through. But one of those key components is working. Remember how often Phil and Colleen would even talk about the 3S program? Being selfless, being subordinate, and what's the third one? And servitude. Yeah, that's the important one, I'm guessing, what we're talking about. Because if we can't do that with a worldly boss, and we can't do that with a human being, period, you can't do that with God. That's just really what it comes down to. And it's very easy as time goes on. I mean, think about whatever your job is. Whatever work that you have to do, think about it. Are you doing it really unto the Lord and giving yourself over to it? Because if it's the work that you're doing, unless God is calling you out of it and you're not obeying, that's what it looks like to be you right now. That's Him being the author and finisher of your faith. He's putting things in your path that are going to refine things, are going to expose things inside of you. And I think it's one of the most powerful things in the world that we can do. It's what makes this place holy. It's our motives. It's our spirit. You know, what do we talk about as far as this sanctuary? What makes this sanctuary sacred? Something that's holy. It's that we don't do worldly stuff in here. We don't watch worldly movies in here. We don't engage in worldly conversation, because this room is sacred. Is it the room? Absolutely not. It's the reason that we're in the room. It's the purpose. We're here to worship Him. That's why we gather in here, isn't it? Isn't it the reason that you walked in here today with the hopes that everything we do as a service is going to draw you nearer to Him? If that's your motive for being here, whatever we talk about tonight, whatever we go through is going to be the most powerful thing in the world, and you're going to be drawn straight to heaven. Not because of the things I'm necessarily saying, but because the motives of why you showed up. Which I guess puts it squarely on you guys, doesn't it? That's the point. I think we have to remember, and I was really spending some time recollecting just this system that God has given us. It's all it took. Bunch of people holding hands, just declaring their motives and remembering why they're here, and then leaving the rest to Him. How many messages have we gone to about, Lord, make my life significant? I'm going to do the thing that is obedience, and I'm going to be insignificant in my own heart, and I'm going to allow you to make me significant. So if that's true, if He is the author and finisher of our faith, then like the only thing we got is to work. To get up and obey. And not be afraid when all types of things come up in our process. That's actually the point. If you're coming here and you're serving and things are not coming up in your process, then maybe you should think about why you're coming, or the motives that you have that you're coming with. That's what it does. I'm so grateful for the work that's here because it's brought up so many things in my process, and it'd be so nice. Just those little things that poke you, that irritate you. You know, whether it's someone that you're working with who is just pushing that button inside of you where, you know, if only I didn't have to, you know, do this thing that I volunteer to do every week, I'd get a little bit more sleep, or I'd get home a little bit early, or I'd have one more night to myself, or, you know, all those things that would just be so nice if this thing wasn't present. And then when we work and we do it with that attitude of like, I just want to get out of here, I just want to get the work done, or you get so lost in the thing that's right in front of you, you don't really remember who you're doing it for, then the spirit here starts to fade, because it's not the property itself that makes it special. I just want to keep repeating that. It's not this room itself that makes it special. It's not because we're us that makes this fellowship special. It's the motives that we have. It's the one that we're trying to serve, because he's the one that's special. He's the one that fills us with this most unbelievable feeling. And if that's the case, it's absolutely true. Working is a really powerful tool if you do it right, if you give yourself over to it. And there's a little bit more than just getting it done. There's more to your circumstances than just finding a way to get by. But we've talked about things in the past of when you work, can you take so much pride in what you're doing that you're going to make it your personal mission to compete with yourself? You're going to do a little bit better today than you did yesterday. And that's not just in, say, the performance of your job, but also the spirit in which you did it. See, and that's the thing that God really sees. And that's what I want to highlight today. Can we have a service and remind ourselves of that? As we get into these habits and these routines, but it's really about like the attitude. As I serve in whatever manner or way that you serve, are you challenging yourself to do a little bit better? Be a little more connected to Jesus. Release a little bit more of his spirit. Because the alternative is we end up becoming slothful. We end up becoming idle. There are so many scriptures, particularly in Proverbs, talking like warning people about just like the poison of just being idle. Being somebody who it's like you get lost in this place where this like transition happens, where rather than getting better, growing, maturing more, and doing something that's causing you to step out of yourself, you end up hyper-focusing in yourself. It's like the only two paths that we can go to. So you get to this place where you're not really seeing how work is this tool. it's this command that God has given us. It's even one of my favorite scriptures. It's through obedience that purifies our soul. It's in Peter. And instead, we start to get really focused in going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into desires, into feelings, into just like worldly pursuits. And then you have to, like the more you look at it, the more you need it, the more it's not fair that you don't have it. The more you start to look at everybody else's garden and the world around you, and it's like this covetousness that just becomes completely consuming. There was someone here who told me recently, they said, I just don't know like where I would be right now if I wasn't able to come here and serve the way that I do. Like, I just don't know where I would be. Like, what would I be doing with my time right now? I notice, like, it's really hard. I mean, even like yesterday, we closed a little bit early because of the snow and just letting everybody get home. But what happens? Like, you go to this place then where it's like, oh my gosh, celebrate. I got 2 hours off. Like, let's go full indulgence. Let me find that movie that I've always been wanting to watch, or that meal I've been wanting to go, or that restaurant I wanted to be at, or that thing that, like, tell me how many of you go to that place where immediately you lock into, okay, how do I serve the Lord now? Where do you go? You get lost more and more in your feelings. And I'm not saying that it's bad for us to relax or enjoy our time, but even those things, they should be unto the Lord. But it's a trap. We get so like caught up in our own feelings and our own desires, and then work stops being a tool that God has given us to advance spiritually, to serve Him, and it becomes a barrier. And then this like snowball effect where it's like, I just can't wait till I'm not working. I can't wait till this time is over. It's like most Americans spend the majority of their time working, anxiously awaiting not working. We spend more time doing the thing that everybody hates doing, making money so that we can go on vacation. It's kind of silly. There's a place that we can enter into where you could see, your work, the way you give of yourself, whether it's you serving God at church, or your job, worldly job, or, taking care of kids, or whatever it looks like to be you. You can see it as a tool, as a gift that you have that'll help you advance. God has put something inside of us to be productive, to live a life that actually brings goodness to the world around us and isn't just taking all the time. And tell me it doesn't feel really, really good when you have a day and like you excelled. Like you gave yourself over to your work and you did it unto the Lord. Feels really good. How good does it feel when we take a day unto self and just indulge our feelings all day? You go to bed at night and feel really great about yourself? No. There's an incredible amount of esteem that we can find, and I feel like it's this like secret that I've found. There's a bad spirit. There's something that's making it difficult to be connected to God, and we can get so lost in all this stuff that's going on, or the circumstances that you're upset about, or whatever you're going through, or you could just give yourself over. I'm going to pull out that box of brisket, and Lord, I'm doing this for you. I can't see much right now. My path doesn't seem really illuminated in front of me, but I do know that you've given me this job. And I'm going to do the best job I can at what is right in front of me, and I'm going to do it with a reverence and a sacredness inside of my heart. And this is my prayer time, and I'm going to engage with you until the heavens open up right over me. That my connection with God is so rich that His Spirit just spills out in everything that I'm doing. That'll be exactly what happens. And I think we need the reminder. That's why we do what we do. That's why we're here. He's going to bring you through your process, so you don't have to worry about that. He's bent on finishing the work that He's doing inside of you, so you don't have to worry about that. You're not in control of your circumstances, so you don't have to worry about that. We have like one mandate. We make things so complicated sometimes, but we have one mandate: obey. And unless God is telling you to just quit all the work that you do and do something else, there's your platform. And He's going to expose things in that platform. He's going to bring up traumas in that platform. He's going to sharpen you. He's going to bring you through a dark night in that platform. He's going to challenge you and train you to learn how to do everything out of obedience and love for Him, rather than your own power, your own agenda. He's going to pull out soulish ways that you've learned to deal with doing work. So oftentimes that's how we've learned how to perform, is we can't really muster up the strength to do much of anything unless we can find somebody to judge. We can find somebody to compare ourselves to. We can find some way to be the hero, to get the accolade, to get approval of man, to look the way we want to look. We have 100 soulish reasons that we juice ourselves up to have the power to do something. And He's got to strip all those things away from us so that we just learn to do it because we love Him. And sometimes when you don't know what to do and confusion is there, it just tells us there's a bad spirit. So give yourself over to the path that He's put right in front of you and do it unto Him. It's so simple, isn't it? Like in some of those circumstances, did it really matter what I prepped first? Do you think all of my destiny hinged on that decision? I doubt it. Joe's not sure, but I doubt it. Or do you think maybe God was just glad that rather than connecting with a bad spirit, I connected with Him? I bet you that's the case. I bet you He was just glad that rather than connecting with a demon, I connected with Him. And I just said, whatever I do, I'm going to do it for you. And I'm going to connect with you, and I'm going to make this work that I'm doing the best prayer time that I've had. And give myself over to it. And it's a tell. Like when we start to see the work in front of us as a burden, we've lost ourselves. We've forgotten that He's the author and finisher of our faith. We forgot that we have these dark hearts that need a lot of work, that we haven't arrived yet, that whatever that thing is that's hard for you is probably exactly what you need to grow. And we can spend the rest of our time trying to escape it, get away from it, decide why it's not fair, why it's not right. If only this person would finally change, then I would finally be at peace. Or give yourself over to it. Sometimes we get so stuck, even when, especially when you have a job where you maybe have done it 100 times. We get kind of stuck because we stop thinking about how we can do it better, and we just say, well, this is how I always do it. But what if how you've always done it is a bad idea? Or not the best way to do it? But it's comfortable. That's how I've always done it. In those moments, you can find God. You can experience Him. I'm going to read a scripture that I think speaks towards this, and then I'd like to hear some comments. This is Ephesians 5:8.
If she sneezed right now, like,
Debbie's sabotaging the service. Ephesians 5:8. For you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Live as children of the light. For the fruit of the light consists in all goodness, righteousness, and truth, and find out what pleases the Lord. Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. Yeah, I really like that line. Find out what pleases the Lord. A lot of times it's pretty easy. Most of you, if not all of you, have a job you go to every day that you feel like God has called you to do. Well, until He calls you away, there's the bulk of your time that you spend every week. Give yourself over to that. Do the best job that you can and do it unto Him. That's really simple. But taking that time, don't become idle. But spend that time, find out what pleases Him. Don't just go through the motions or spend time sorting through your feelings, trying to understand why things are one way rather than find out. Spend that time. This whole chapter is just like straight Christian living. Like, this is what we should do day in and day out. And it's so simple. It's hard to do, but it's very simple. Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. It is shameful to even mention what the disobedient do in secret. But everything exposed by the light becomes visible, and everything that is illuminated becomes a light. This is why it is said, "Wake up, sleeper, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. I really like that section too. Wherever He has you, whatever your responsibilities are unto Him, make the most of it. Find a way to not be slothful and just wish it to be done with. Make the most of it. Give yourself over to it. Find a way to do a little better than you did last time. Find a way to have a richer connection. I promise you, you do that, I don't care if you're in a worldly job, His light will shine everywhere that you go. Is it because where you are is full of light? No. Is it because you're necessarily full of light all the time? No. It's because of your motives. Because Jesus is full of light all the time and you're tapping into Him. Because He's the one that you're serving. Be careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. Do not get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. Instead, be filled with the Spirit, speaking to one another with psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit. Sing and make music from your heart to the Lord, always giving thanks to God the Father for everything, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. And here's another one. This is Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. Anyone who does wrong will be repaid for their wrongs, and there is no favoritism. That's all I really wanted to share. I just wanted it to be something that you guys have in the front of your mind. You having a hard time? You're not having a rich sense of God? You're struggling, there's confusion, your mind is going a million miles an hour, you're having a hard time separating yourself from your desires, from your feelings. Find a way to give yourself over to your work and do it unto the Lord. Make such a connection with Him through your work. And your time here is going to really, really bless you. And the light will come and expose. It'll illuminate things inside of your heart, and you'll say, oh, wow, God, you really are the author and finisher of my faith. I had no idea how this work was exactly what I needed to bring these things up inside of my heart to change as a person. But you knew. And you still know where you're taking me and what you're doing. So I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to carry the weight of my salvation. You're doing that. You're in charge of it. I don't even necessarily have to know where you're taking me. I can just trust that you're a good God who's bent on loving my life and bringing me through this process. So I'm just going to fight to understand what the Lord's will is and then make the most of every opportunity. If you're having a conversation with someone, make the most of it. If you're doing a job, make the most of it. Don't do it halfway. Don't do it exactly the same way you did it last time. Do it better. And then say a little prayer to Him and just say, Lord, I did that for you. I don't even know how that serves you sometimes, but I feel like this is what obedience looks like. I did that for you. I did that because I wanted to put a smile on your face. That's it. Or maybe you have to tell yourself, Lord, I'm about to do this for you. Just like when we held hands and prayed. Lord, I have this job I'm about to do, and I feel like this is what you're calling me to do right now, so I'm doing it for you. I just want you to know that. You've done so much for me. The least I can do is step outside of myself and do something for you. How powerful do you think that would be? What do you think would happen if, say, you're serving tonight after the service and you're one of the people helping clean or whatever, and you just say, Lord, I'm doing that for you. That's it. It's not the job. It's not really the work. It's not the thing that makes it holy. It's the attitude doing it. It's the Spirit. Lord, I'm serving you today. Lord, this meal that I'm preparing, yeah, somebody else is going to eat it, but secretly, I'm doing it for you. Because it's what I think you want me to do right now. Lord, this conversation that I'm having with someone, this thing that maybe wants me to be irritated with them, you know what? I'm going to connect with you. What do you want me to say to them right now? How do you want me to relate to them right now? I'm doing it for you. Everything we do, everything we say, It's our work. And when you do that, you're going to go to bed feeling so proud of yourself. And then you won't need the approval of man anymore because you already feel so proud of yourself. You don't really need acceptance of man anymore because you feel so proud of yourself. You won't have to go backwards and sort through your whole process and all the ways that you've, screwed up. Just do good today and be proud of yourself. Isn't work amazing? It's an amazing tool. We all hate it sometimes, but it's incredible. It's like something God has put before us, and as much as it would be nice to have a day off or do whatever, I know my tendency. The more time I have to myself, the more time I'm going to spend thinking about myself. So I need something that stops me from doing it, because that's just what I'm going to do. That's my nature. It's the kind of person that I'm going to be. So give yourself over to whatever he's put in front of you, and don't give yourself the excuse of, well, I'm in some sort of secular business that I'm working for that we all know is evil, so why does this even matter? Maybe it's all that much more so. So you can be a light. You can connect with him in whatever you're doing. And maybe the only exception is if your conscience is really nagging you that you're not supposed to be at that place, then find out what pleases him and go there. And then give yourself over to it. We are so fortunate to be able to do the work that we do. And I think we'd be kind of lost without it. And when we start seeing it as a barrier, I think we're forgetting how deep our sin nature is rooted inside of our heart, and how likely we really are. I mean, if you just next week had zero work to do, you think you'd have an easier time serving him with that week or a harder time? A lot harder. All right, can I just hear a couple of comments? Javier, Dana, can you pass that?
I just really like this message, and I can totally relate to what you say, because I've been so many times on both sides of the coin. So many times I give myself to God and say like, okay, God, I'm gonna do this unto you. And today I know I've been having moments, and the day goes so easy, no matter how much the work was to do or how little the work was to do. But so many times I give myself over to my own feelings and feeling like put off, or feeling a victim, or feeling there's too much work, or feeling then I'm tired, or feeling then Mike is taking advantage of me, or feeling like all this thing. And it's just like the day becomes so like awful. So it's just like I can testify then what you say is so revolutionary, because it's so true. It's like more than just take this vitamin and you're gonna be full of energy, or drink this like mushroom coffee and you're gonna be like happy all day. It's just like, well, give yourself over and like relate to God and focus on him, and that is the real answer. Because I would love to say that I've done it more times than what I've done it, but I proven and I'm tasted, and that is true. And I want to keep reminding myself to like be that way and not be so like easy to like just go inside of myself and say like, okay, let's see what Javier feels like today, and just give myself over to it. And just not only make my life miserable, but make my co-workers and the people that is around me miserable, because I see and they are like feeling the bad spirit that I'm releasing.
Yeah.
So I testify and I say like I really like this message, and we all I believe me first of all, but we all need a reminder what I'm doing here. My motive is the most important thing. Who am I doing the work that am I doing?
Right.
And it's just like it's the most important thing for God. Doesn't matter if it's like mopping a floor or chopping a lettuce or making the most extravagant meal. Everything is done to God, or preaching a sermon. Just like everything, if my motive says like I'm gonna do this for you, God, it's gonna be the best, because God is gonna be able to explode all over whatever I'm doing.
Yeah. Good. Kaylee?
I like what you said, that being idle is poison and obedience purifies the soul. Those were like two really big like things for me to meditate on for sure. I know I
Yeah.
definitely also can testify to the effects of like, being self-centered and just wanting my time, or, like,
We all can. Yeah.
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 But like, yeah, just coveting it, or I don't know, idolizing it. And like, and I like what you said too towards the end, like just how like simple it can be, like to just say like, Lord, I'm doing this for you, like, and then now that's my motive for
Yeah.
doing
I'm
it.
deciding.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I thought that was like a really simple way to like help, just get me in the flow of like his spirit, of like,
Yeah.
just remember to, Lord, I'm doing this for you. And then it's like that switch in your mind. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I thought that was good.
Yeah, I've had so many breakthrough moments just doing that. So sometimes even like there's a lot to contend with, and it's just, oh gosh, I need to go pray, I need to go do this, I need to go, and it's like, no, you know what? I'm just going to work, and I'm going to get it done, and I'm going to do it unto you. And it's like the most powerful prayer time ever. And it's like breakthrough every time. It's just a good habit, I think, for us to get into, and we just, by nature, we're going to drift away from it, and we have to remind each other. We have to give testimony about it, and we have to sharpen our motives for being here, and that's the point of being a part of a community, because we all get lost. So something we can just do as a group to remind ourselves of the kind of reverence we want to have. Barry, you raised your hand. Dana, you mind passing that?
Yeah, it was a great. This is a great toolkit altogether. But I was really reflecting on my time with my brother. When you said when you know that you're working with the Lord's will and what you do your life, there were plenty of times were frustrating. I never ever expected to be a caregiver and what all that entails.
Yeah.
But there were times when I surrendered, I remember how much easier it would be, even with the things that were really difficult for me to do. Surrendering made everything easy. And I just realized that I wasn't being surrendered. And that's what was coming back in my mind today, particularly when you say things that are coming up, like when you're being trained. There were different ways that You know, when I saw how Barb and Kathy treated my brother, there were things that I wanted it to be a particular way that I knew that it was me saying, but there was so much to collect from what they were doing as well. And the nuance in what they were doing, that if you were attentive, you could capture. And that was it's really powerful to me, because I felt that it was allowing myself to be trained, as well as saying these are the things that I, at a minimum, can't keep. And particularly as it relates to coming in here and learning the cash register, you know, recently from Debbie and yourself, I just felt like everything that you said I can apply, because, you know, when you said obedience was purification of our soul, through obedience we purify our soul. That was really powerful, as well as to see work as a gift. So,
And it's a good marker for us of when we're not seeing it as a gift, then our clarity is probably getting lost of what we're trying to accomplish and what we're here for.
well, if things are done out of obedience and love for Him, it's really, you know, and if work is perfecting my soulish reasons to leave me or show me, you know, it really does. And, you know, it's a wonderful thing to see. So, and I'm grateful for the sermon. I took a lot of notes.
Yeah. And it's a really challenging process to learn how to do something spiritually. Like that, it was a really big transition that God brought me through, that He's still like working on, but like being in that place where I remember when I was at like being pushed really hard physically, you know, like starting to feel kind of physically broken, to see some of the like things spiritually that would rise up. Because like when your circumstances get hard and like you hit that threshold, it's like at that moment, like the disciples who, when Jesus, you know, was being arrested, like they just went back to their old ways. So like being pushed to that place through my work, then all of a sudden, all the soulish things that I've used my whole life to perform with start coming up. And then when they come up, well, now I can deal with those things and learn how to handle the pressure, but to do it spiritually. You know, Phil would always kind of laugh at me, because he would say, you know, the scripture says, you know, that I always reverse them now because of the whole conversation, but the spirit is weak, you know, the body is, see, that is background. So there you go. Yeah, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And Phil would always laugh at me, because he'd say, that's not true with you, Mike. He said, your flesh is stronger than your spirit. He's like, you're backwards. So I'd get to a point where yeah, I was like, is that a compliment? I don't think so. But he would go through that and he'd say, you know, these circumstances are putting a pressure on you and your spirit is weakening, and it's not that your body doesn't have more to give, it's that your spirit's not strong enough to handle them. And it was like, okay, so what do we do now? And I had to work through that to say my spirit is starting to falter, but I know my body can do this. You ever get to a place where you feel really overwhelmed by something and you feel like you can't do any more than you're presently doing, but secretly you know your body's capable of it? That's what I'm talking about. And and through the work, God brought me through a process where finally, just like, I don't know, in the last year sometime, I was like really exhausted from something that we were doing, and it was amazing because we did, I think it was I don't know if it was a festival or whatever, it was a busy year for sure, but it was at a moment where I was just physically broken, but totally at peace. It's just like I hit that moment where like my body can't do more, but I was fine. And I remember Phil saying, finally, Mike, finally, your spirit is willing, but your flesh is weak. He goes, finally, it's like in the right order now. And that was like a kind of a big moment, because when we start to get pushed, all these soulish things that we've used to empower ourselves with to perform start coming up. But the more you fill yourself with soulish energy, where you're gonna crash because it's not powerful enough to sustain you. Only the Holy Spirit is powerful enough to sustain you. So it was like I felt so glad because I was able to go to bed at night totally at peace, totally connected with Him, and totally broken physically. It was like, okay, Scripture's right now. Had a little like prioritizing had to change, but I was so grateful because the work helped me push beyond that to root out all the soulish things that I learned to do when I'm overwhelmed. And I know that's going to translate because then I know God can push me. And I wanted my body to be the limitation, not my spirit, not my attitude. And a lot of times it's the attitude that's the limitation, but we're capable physically of so much more than we think we are. I know there was this one, I don't even remember all the details exactly, but there was this one guy where he asked a friend of his or something who was a Navy SEAL to help him do more pull-ups. And he said something like, okay, get up to the bar, do as many pull-ups as you can do. And he did like 8, or something like that. And then he said, and now know, that you've only depleted probably 10% of what your body's actually capable of. And this Navy SEAL got this guy to then do 100 pull-ups. A guy who just could do 8. And he said, it's mental. So it's like I had to flip that. And I'm sure there's still a lot to go in that regard, but that's one way you can use your work. Our bodies are way more capable than we think they are. It's our spirit often that's more weak. So, any other comments?
No, there's many times where there's a couple things. One is work gives me purpose. Like work organizes me. When I'm not at work, I have to try to get organized. There's a system. I find my quiet times. I do quiet times much more when I'm working. You would think you'd have less time, but I do more quiet times when I'm working and working long because it's built into my day. It gives me purpose to do that. And, to the point you were just talking about is when I start counting the days, that's when it's like, oh, it's the 8th day in a row, or it's the 9th day in a row. And then when you don't think about it, you look back and go, oh my gosh, I just did 20-some days in a row. And you're fine. I always say to myself, you would still be getting up every day and doing something. So why is it that 27 days in a row of work, it's like, I can't believe I've done 20. It's like, yeah, but on your days off, you're still doing something. You're not really off. It's not like you just stop living, you're doing something.
Right.
So it's like, oh, I did this many days. It's like, well, you're still doing that. I mean, really, when you think about it, we've just done 365 days in a row, and we're going to do another 365 days in a row.
Yeah, it's not that I can't, it's that I shouldn't have to.
Yeah, or the way what you put into it, right? It's but I shouldn't have to do that
Yeah.
for that many days in a
Yeah.
row. It has nothing to do with can I do that physically. You can, you can, but it's just where your mind goes with it. So
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. All right, any other comments before we close? All right, so Lord, we just thank you that you are the author and finisher of our faith, and sometimes we just make ourselves way too important in our own eyes, like we gotta figure all these things out, and truly you're in control, you're sovereign. You have some amazing plans for our lives, and we just have to find a way to find out what pleases you and give ourselves over to that. Let everything else just wash away. And God, it's our desire to be a light. To let everything we do, everything we say, Lord, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this because I love you, because I want to put a smile on your face, because I'm so grateful for who you've been to me, and if I can find a way to pour that back out to you today, then I want to do it. Thank you for this system that you've given us as a church to hem us in, to connect with you, and would you unify us in your spirit more and more, and pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.